Hey guys, I'm back with another video. Real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for reaching 400 subscribers. I know sometimes I sound like a recorder, but I really do appreciate all the support and the constructive feedback you guys give me, so thank you. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the videos. It makes me really excited that new players everywhere are either playing Classic WoW for the first time or playing WoW for the first time altogether. I think Blizzard has really struggled in the past getting new players. And so shout out to all the YouTubers from all the way to Asmongold, the hardcore community, and the small content makers like me who try to shine the positive light of things on WoW. Now obviously retail WoW today is a lot different from Classic. So I wanted to share things that I wish I would have known when I just started out, from picking classes and ways to save gold or make easy money. These are simply just my opinions and ways I've made Classic WoW easier for myself time and time again as I continue to play. I even still learn new things along the way. If you guys have anything to add, be sure to do that in the comments. Keep in mind this is a guide for new players, so if you're experienced, most of these things that I'm going to say you already know about. So let's start with choosing a realm. Luckily, Blizzard has made this incredibly easy for everyone alike. They've combined the realms into clusters, so that you can play with other people on the same faction, but different servers. So for example, I'm a Horde player on Mankrik, but I can play with other Horde players on Westfall, Windseeker, and more. They have a PvE cluster and a PvP cluster. As usual, the PvP clusters are way more populated and a better bang for your buck if you're looking to be around a lot of people, have more server coordination, or overall just a better server health. However, if you're new or just coming back to the game and don't want, your typical neckbeard classic Andy ganking you in Stone Town Mountains when they're 20 levels higher, or they happen to copy their 60 clone and they're bored, you don't want to deal with that, I suggest going to PvE if you want to get a better feel for the game. While I don't have exact stats, it's obvious that the Alliance side is way more populated than the Horde on PvE. Now, let me get started on why that is. Paladins. So once again, if you're looking for more opportunities of meeting new friends, finding groups, or getting a meaningful guild, then I would suggest the Alliance. However, the Horde is steadily growing, and there's a lot of new levelers that I've been meeting either on my channel or while I'm playing every single day. Now let's get to the classes and racials. These are just subjective in my opinion, so feel free to decide for yourself, or just pick whatever looks cool or whatever you want to play. Now, if you're Horde and want to be a melee, I suggest Orc, simply because of the +5 to axe skill, which is massive, especially while you're leveling, either if you're DPSing or tanking. And you also get Blood Fury, a racial that increases your attack power. Now keep in mind that in Classic, Blood Fury does not give attack power to hunters. That doesn't become a thing until TBC, so please keep that in mind. If you're a caster, DPS, or a hunter, I suggest a Troll. Berserking increases your attack speed for a short time, and they also get +5 to bows. A little widget here is if you go melee with a Troll, you also have throwing weapons already learned, so that's pretty cool early on for making pulls, especially like if you're in a hardcore setting. If you plan on just solely tanking and want survivability, go Tauren. They have War Stomp, which is a stun and can be useful many ways. They also get a stamina buff. Not a bad race for PvP either. I find Undead to be good for solo players or PvP. Will of the Forsaken gets you out of most CCs, and Cannibalize is a good ability to regain some HP in sticky situations. It's also a good race for priests though, as they're given 2 class-specific spells, Devouring Plague and Touch of Weakness, both very good debuffs and good in PvE settings as well. Now for Alliance, if you're looking for the most balanced or overpowered, whatever way you want to look at it, racials, then Human is your way to go. +5 swords, +5 maces, increase in reputation gains, perception, which increases stealth detection, and +5% spirit. So they fit your bill for warriors, rogues, paladins, mages, and priests. Gnomes have Escape Artist, which gets you out of movement speed reduction and immobilization. They also have a +5% intellect, making them a strong choice for mages and warlocks and PvP. Dwarves have stone form, which is probably the best PvE racial, but it's also useful for PvE simply to remove debuffs, and also +5 guns. However, to be honest, there's really no class they're technically best for, except for priests, where they have Fear Ward, which is insanely useful for boss mechanics and dungeons, as well as they have Desperate Prayer, which heals the caster instantly with a good amount of HP. Night Elves have a higher base agility rate, making them pretty good for hunters because that's their sole base stat for AP. But Night Elves offer no stats, profession benefits, or weapon skill increases in their racials. They do have an interesting choice for priests, however, as they're given Star Shards and Elun's Grace, both useful spells. Again, make what you want out of the racials, but some make a big difference while you're leveling, tanking, or endgame content if you're trying to take your DPS to another level. However, again, choose whatever you like. Now let's transition to gold. Gold is valued so much more in Classic than in retail. You need to spend and save your money wisely. Your mount at level 40 is going to cost you about 90 gold. And if you're not careful, you'll be struggling walking around everywhere. Now, before some people say, oh, it's so easy to make money nowadays in Classic, you need to listen for a second. The auction houses are not linked with the servers you're playing with. So on Mancrek, for example, it's pretty difficult to make money selling goods and items, unless you do it at a completely reduced price, since the population isn't very big without the clusters. For example, I had a pair of Necromancer legs drop off a Raptor. Insanely good legs. +11 shadow damage, and +11 intellect. I've been trying to sell them for 2 weeks now on Era. I even posted them as low as 5 gold and no buyers. I have 5 or 6 other blues that are decent, and eventually I'm just going to have to vendor them since I can't sell them. You need to find other ways to make cash and save, and here's how. Don't do money dump professions right away on your first tune. Engineering, enchanting, and blacksmithing are a few of them you should try to avoid. Every single one of you, healer or not, should learn first aid. This is one of the easiest ways I stack cash. In the early levels, linen, wool, and silk drop pretty much off any humanoid. Convert this cloth into bandages, and you make more selling the bandages to the vendor than the cloth itself by a substantial amount. Don't buy all of your spells. As a warrior, what I like to do, I usually skip my spells from 36 to 40 and then learn them after I get my mount. I miss things like Slam, Pummel, Whirlwind, and a Heroic Strike rank, as well as learning Plate at 40, but I save about 14 to 16 gold not learning them right away, and I don't really have plate gear to immediately put on when I hit 40 right away anyways. Spells for hunters like Track Elementals, Eagle's Eye, Eyes of the Beast are useless spells unless you're doing funny things for content. Save your money. Druids and Shamans obviously are a little more flexible since they have Travel Form and Ghost Wolf early before their mounts. Now my next suggestion is making friends or finding a guild. There's a lot of leveling guilds out right now in Azeroth, and a lot of them are social, willing to help, and have a good community based around them, whether it's Alliance or Horde. The guild I'm on Mancrek right now has almost 900 members, and there's always 50 to 60 people on at a time no matter when you're playing, and they've all been active within the last 2 weeks. A lot of the content in Classic WoW requires you to find groups or make friends, so unless you're doing hardcore, being social is actually an integral part of the game. If you make friends, you have dungeon groups. If you have dungeon groups, you make way more friends. It's a simple math equation that takes you a long way in the game. Now I just have some basic miscellaneous tips that aren't necessarily in order, and they're just essentially bullet points that I want you to keep note of. My first one is make a bank alt. If you know Classic, you know Backspace is a premium. A bank alt helps you store some of your profession mats and other gear sets you might potentially have if you're a flexible class. You can use the mailbox also as a way to store items. Simply mail stuff back and forth between your tunes, and it will stay in the mailbox for 30 days. Be sure to keep track of it though, because the mail will disappear after the first resend. Get in the habit of looting everything you see. You'll get a hang of what vendors for what, and there's actually add-ons now that a lot of people use that'll tell you how much things vendor for. Get in the habit of looting as much as you possibly can early on. Every piece of copper or silver counts. Do your class quests. They may seem like a nuisance, but most of them are absolutely necessary or required. For example, the level 10 warrior quest gives you defensive stance, and the one at 30 gives you berserker stance. The totem quests for shaman are another example. You have to do these quests. You cannot avoid them. There is no dual talent specialization, so when you make your character, try to kind of have an idea of what spec you would like to play. Your first respec at a trainer is not free. A lot of people think your first respec is free in Classic. It is not. It costs 1 gold, and it scales higher each time you want to respec. So again, have an idea of what you want to play. Now here's a big one. I want you to know your role when you select a class for endgame. If you choose a warlock, know you'll be a summon bot before raid or dungeons. If you choose a priest, just know that 98% of the time, you're going to be forced to play a healer. If you're a shaman, you more than likely won't be playing enhancement. If you're a mage, know that you'll have to be a certain spec for certain raids. And if you're playing Classic Era where all the content is available, maybe one night you do MC, one night you do 8Q40, it might be costly doing some respecs. My last but maybe most important tip here, your reputation in Classic WoW is everything. People will recognize your name, and people will not be afraid to speak out if you've happened to start drama, you're a bad player, or you ninja items. If you become infamous on the server, good luck finding a raid spot or a guild that can trust you. Better yet, good luck finding a 5-man dungeon. I hope you guys enjoyed my brief guide for new players coming to Classic, and I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Thank you.